So good afternoon to some of you, good morning to some others, and thank you very much to the Black Sea University Network for this very kind invitation, especially Professor Mahmoud and Professor Mitkas. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with all of you. I really enjoyed all the talks until now, so it has been a very interesting afternoon. And if you don't mind, now I will actually share my screen because I have a few slides that I would like to show you, just to maybe be very short and concrete on some of the concepts that I would like to present. So I hope you will see now my screen. Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, because now I don't see you anymore. I only see my screen, but please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I will try to be very short on these slides. So as Professor Mahmoud said, I have two main hats. One is I'm a vice rector at Sapienza University, which is a large university in Italy, and I'm president of the UNICA network of universities from the capitals of Europe. And actually in this second role is that I got in touch with Professor Mahmoud, Professor Mitkas, and then we started to talk about collaborations, and it would be nice, to organize more and more activities together between UNICA and the soon. So just a few words. UNICA is a network of 53 universities from 37 capital cities. So we represent overall 160,000 university staff and almost 2 million students. UNICA has many activities. One of them is related to education. So we have a working group called EduLAB, which actually has been working for about 20 years, and on different topics, but new ways of teaching and learning and higher education in the digital era has been discussed already for several years. So some of the elements which I will present today are very much actually related to what we have been discussing in the last few years, but very much, I have to say, in a theoretical way in some cases. But now with the COVID crisis, I think universities all around the world had a digital shock, and I think we put into practice many things that we were discussing, for some years. So it has been said already today, but I want to repeat this. I fully agree on the fact that any crisis, brings some challenges, but also some opportunities. And I think for universities, in this very tragic moment in which thousands of people lost their life, and then many people also will suffer for the very serious economic crisis that we're going to face, I have to say, for universities, for the academic world, we also see some important opportunities. And of course, some of them have been mentioned already by the distinguished speakers before me. Just very, very quickly, let's talk about online teaching and assessment. This has been challenging for many universities to actually move very quickly in a few weeks, all teaching to online modalities. But I have to say, based on my experience, that both professors but also students reacted very well to this change. And I have to say, students are very punctual. Also based on my previous experience, I teach pharmacology, as it was said. I'm not actually, my research activities are not related to COVID. I work in another field, but I do encourage my students in this period to study all the elements of pharmacology related to the COVID. And I have to say they've been very, very punctual, in my lectures, very active, they've been active on the chat during the presentation. And I think that was really a very good experience, showing that, students actually, they do like these activities. They actually can be active in a different way. They are not in the hall, I have to say, but the interaction with the professors can be very good as well. What I think they miss more is the interaction between themselves in a way, because to be in a room, it means, of course, to have maybe a coffee break together, to have a chat, informal chat, in front of the building, waiting for the professor to enter, and that is something probably they miss. But in terms of interaction with professors, I have to say the response was quite good. Also, of course, this change has been challenging for some staff members. I mean, maybe the more senior ones, but with very important exceptions. What we notice, I mean, in many countries in Europe, but this is probably happened around the world, the risk of digital divide, socioeconomic divide. Because of course, not all families, were equipped with good devices, good computers, good internet access, etc. So we really have to take care of these elements to allow everyone, to have, this kind of opportunities for online education. I have to say also that for academia, there is a risk of competition in a way with other providers of education. We know there are many of them in the world. I mentioned some in this slide, but there are many others. And I have to say that we need to remember that universities really managed to survive through different crises for many centuries. We have universities which are more than 1,000 years old, and they still exist. So I have to say that we need to ask ourselves what will happen to universities, in this new digital era after the COVID-19 shock. And personally, I'm quite optimistic, that we can survive. We can survive very well, but we need to actually adapt. Darwin is reminding us that is not the strongest species which survives, but the most the one which is capable to adapt to the new environment. And in terms of mobility, of course, in Europe we have several programs for physical mobility. The most famous one is Erasmus, of course, moving usually more than several 100,000 students per year. And of course, this has been very challenging. So physical mobility decreased very much in the last few months, and also we expect a very strong decrease in the next semester in the academic year 2020-2021. But again, this can be an opportunity for having a high quality virtual and blended mobility. This has been discussed for several years, but to be very frank, the discussion again in this case was a little bit theoretical, because a student really wanted to move and say, okay, I want to go from, for instance, Italy to another country, to Germany, to Poland, or elsewhere, even outside Europe. This personal experience for students was very, very important. I have to say that now, after again this digital shock, we have the opportunity to improve the quality of virtual mobility. So to try to make our catalogs of the courses that we offer more transparent for students, and really offer a higher number of courses that students can take from different parts of the world, and this can be again very interesting, because a student can be enrolled in one university, but during his or her career, he or she can actually take different courses in other universities. So we have to rethink also the concept of, let's say, MOU, of the concept of agreement, because in the agreement will not just, as we usually do now, we put in a MOU, the exchange of maybe a few researchers, a few students, etc. In this case, I think a very important point of an MOU should be really the offer of a university in online teaching, virtual mobility, etc. And also, I think blended mobility can be interesting because, say, after some, let's say, course taken online, students, can be very interested in maybe visiting that university for a summer school or a winter school or something like that. So we could try to link short physical mobility to virtual mobility. And this, I think, can be very, very interesting. Also because we can organize maybe some interdisciplinary summer schools in our universities open to students who actually attended online courses before. So I think this can be a physical experience, or maybe even 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, short term, but after a long, virtual mobility. I think this can be an interesting opportunity. And the same can happen, of course, for professors, for administrative and technical staff. More and more now we are used to work from home. So, I mean, it's not impossible for a person from the administration also to share some work, with other colleagues around the world. And this was, I have to say, unthinkable 3 months ago. It was very difficult to organize, a virtual mobility for administrative staff. And this is, I think, is much easier now. And also, professors moving to other universities, maybe they could deliver some lectures online in one academic year, and then plan physical mobility maybe in the next academic year. Research, of course, suffered very much, in our universities in the last few months. But again, it was an opportunity for some groups, to work together in virtual research groups, in sharing data, etc. So again, I see also positive aspects here. Administration, in Italy and in many other European countries, we have a strong, let's say, bureaucracy in which many things has to go, through different steps in which signature or stamps are necessary. I think we did a lot in the last few months, to make all the work easier, for people working from home, etc. So I think this experience again can be very interesting and very useful for the administration of universities. Online facilities, of course, we've been discussing, the digital libraries for many years. Many resources are online, especially, I have to say, for the scientific and technical fields. I think we should try to move on and also have more resources for the humanities, for the social sciences, etc. And of course, try to move forward in the open access campaign. This has been again discussed for many years. And being at home, I think in the last few months, for many people, really, I think, induced us to realize how important is, the access to information from any place, not only from your office, but from any other place in which we should access, good resources. Also, what happened in my university, but in many others, we improved the psychological support of our students because, of course, we have several students at home, some of them abroad, without the possibility of coming back home very soon. And I think also this was something that has been a very interesting development. I'm sorry now that some of the previous speakers are not online anymore, because I also want to mention, of course, the SDGs are so important, and many universities in UNICA, if not all, have been engaged, in these goals. And I have to say that sometimes not all of them are taken care of, in the same way. So I have to really say that we should keep very high in our priorities the importance of these SDGs, and then try to make sure that our students, our graduates, they really know the importance of these SDGs, and so see if we can manage to make our planet a better planet, because we realized how our societies are fragile. A very small germ like this COVID-19, in a few months managed to, to put us on our knees, and then, we should, I think, plan the activities, of university together with our societies in a different way. We should avoid really having people, this has been said today already, to be poor, to be hungry, etc. So I think these goals are so important. We have to keep them all the time in our mind. And also, I think this again has been said before today, the role of universities can be very, very important in the next few months to try to reduce, the crisis. The crisis would be very, very heavy, and but we can anticipate, some of the phenomena and try to make the crisis, a little bit less serious than it can be. And then here, I will go very, very quickly because I know that I took already several minutes. I will go quickly here, just to tell you something that, again, this has been discussed for a long time, but again, we can do it now everywhere. So professors, should really be guides for our students, on the side. This is Dante Alighieri together with the poet Virgilio in this dark wood. It's not, we don't see any cathedra. We see, a guide that is guiding another, let's say, younger colleague go through this difficult path of knowledge. I think this is the approach we have to use in our university. We have to flip more and more the classroom, and again, the digitalization can help in this direction. We have to change also the way, let's say, of assessment. In many cases, it doesn't make sense, to avoid and to control our students, avoiding that they use the internet during the exams. We can just make, the questions a little bit more difficult, and then, allowing them to use anything. But of course, if you don't know the subject, you will never be able to reply. Foster more creativity, in our students, rather than just providing information. Again, these are concepts, which has been discussed for a long time. The importance of soft skills, more and more, we realize in this COVID-19 crisis how important is resilience, the capability of solving different issues and problems. So I think we should. I go fast on these slides because I think my time is almost finished. Because I want to also mention something, of course, very quickly about artificial intelligence. Sorry, I'm going a little bit fast here, because I want to go to this concept, the concept of interdisciplinarity. Again, we have been discussing this for a long time, but digitalization can really help to make this true, because if some specific knowledge, if some notions, are available easily, and then all citizens, all students, are used to get this information easily on the internet, then the role of universities should be really to give a more general and interdisciplinary education, managing to have people from the humanities to interact more and more with engineers, with experts in other fields. And this is actually what universities were doing until recently. Only in the last 2 centuries, we have to say that we focus so much on different disciplines, different fields. Scholars until a couple of centuries ago, they were very expert in philosophy, mathematics, poetry, literature, whatever, philosophy. So, it's really, I think the digitalization and, again, the COVID-19 crisis can go in this direction, can help us to make the dream of interdisciplinarity to come true again. Also because we know very well, that's ethical, legal responsibilities of, in many fields, would be more and more important. And then, of course, engineers, they should, be exposed more to philosophy, to ethics, to some legal concepts, etc. So, also from, a practical point of view, I think interdisciplinarity in our society will become more and more important, and universities should adapt, to make sure that our graduates, they really master all these different aspects of education. I will go fast here, and then I thank you very much for your attention.